Good morning, everyone. It's 11 a.m. on Monday. This is the Neutral Zone. I'm your host, Jason Schwartz. We have a great guest today. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long, long year. So many men sold away. And I was around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and pain. Made damn sure that Pilate washed his hands and sealed his fate. Pleased to meet you. Hope you get my name. But what puzzling you is the nature of my game. Good morning. Aloha, everyone. I am sitting here Monday, August 26, 2019. You may be seeing this or listening to it live. Facebook Live, you'll find it at KAKU 88.5 FM on Facebook. Also, next day, you'll find it up at MauiNeutralZone.com along with the rest of our shows. I think we're up to 57. And you'll also find it on YouTube, and you'll also... if you're watching Akaku, you'll say, is that a radio show? Yeah. We're trying to make sure people know this radio station exists. You can also find it on TuneIn, on the radio, on your phone. So we're available, and we're building an audience. I'm sitting here with a guest that if you don't know him and you're missing it live, you'll say, oh, I want to go see this guy again. He's really dynamic. Well, you can see this guy again. I'm here with present sitting council member, councilperson, Shane Sinenci, who's the Maui County Council representative based in Hana, Maui, Hawaii. So all of you around the world, you're coming to Maui, you want to see Shane. If you want tickets to anything, I think, because you're in council, special stuff. Although that's the mayor. He's got a... yeah. Mayor Victorino has a kid. He'll get you tickets.
Yeah. Wrong Shane. Good morning,
that's
Mr.
Shane
Schwartz.
Victorino. I know we're having fun here. Shane Sinenci is really, you've been a wonderful part of our community for a long time. You were a teacher, weren't you?
Yes, for 20 years, special education teacher in Hana.
Wow.
That's correct.
Sit just a little bit closer so we get... Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, you can move that if you want. Perfect. So as a special education teacher and someone in our community from Hana, you got to understand rural, you got to understand families, special needs families, real need, things lacking for many years. I imagine, were you part of all the stuff going on in Hana all the time, all those years?
Yes, it's such a small town. You can't be outside of it if you live in Hana. Yeah, so I've been part of it the last 20 years.
So here you are, a guy now who went from public teacher and doing an excellent job in the local community to representing that area, all the areas, but as a residency seat. Welcome to our show. Congratulations on your win. I know it's much after the election. You've now been serving, having a sitting council person who, I feel like is one of the boys, has been there and grown through the ranks and now is sitting at the round table, is a great thing. And I'm just really thrilled to know that someone from a rural community, you, also Kiani, who sits there, from a rural community, and I know that you're both different, but I think of this term with the new council, a new young blood. Any things that you see immediately when you're sitting there were so different than you thought they were when you were outside the seat?
Of course. First off, Mr. Schwartz, I just wanted to give a shout out and a big mahalo for having me. And I apologize for not being here earlier, but you've been a supporter of our grassroots campaign in the last 2 years, and so I just wanted to mahalo you for that, and I'm so happy to be here hanging out with you finally and talking story. Well, but you're right, we're still kind of amazed. we sometimes we're still kind of got to pinch ourselves that we got in, and so we've been given this opportunity, and like you said, for rural communities like Hana, we get to, we definitely have a voice now at the table. So we're very appreciative for all the support, and it took us a couple years to get where we are right now, and a lot of sweat, hard work, and
a lot of signs,
a lot of sign waving. Yeah. So
there are people that have, some of them use it as a dartboard. They're fooling, but some of them use it, and keep their kids happy because their Shane is always with them.
Right. I don't know where they are. Some guys might have them in their garage
for the next election.
Correct. But we did, just going through this last 20 years as a teacher in Hana. We've definitely been involved with our small community, and it hasn't been it's been a kako thing. There's many supporters and people that are on the front lines and are doing the work for the environment, for our small communities, and I just wanted to recognize them, because without them I wouldn't be here. It had definitely been a group effort, and so I wanted to thank all those people that helped me along the way. Mahalo.
Well, and funny, the destination, we're not at the destination. We're all on that direction toward perfection. We're working on it a long time. And what things that, when you're sitting in the council seat, well, I guess I want to compare it to when you became the Donald Trump of your seat. You're now fully in your seat, and you have new power.
Yeah.
New power. Any ways that you see that you've been able to use it or not use it in different than you'd thought? I always thought someone gets in office, they should change this and change that and do this. How come that isn't happening? How come this? We still have problems on the roads. Hey, my road is still broken.
Yeah.
I'm using. So I'm sure it's a little different than being in public, as that's what I'm really wondering. How, in this new seat, is it a whole different kind of a view? It's like you're at a different place on the mountain looking out.
Yeah, definitely. It's the seat is great. It's definitely been a learning curve in this last 8 months that we've been on the job. The Environmental, Agriculture, and Cultural Preservation Committee suits me well, and I was supported by the majority of the council members, probably because of my background as a cultural practitioner and living in such a beautiful place like Hana. So the environment was definitely something that we grow up in as practitioners, as gatherers, mauka to makai. So definitely fits my role on the county council.
Do you feel that you are there in that role, in that are seeing progress in a very meaningful way to you?
Yes, we've been trying to put some progressive bills through. Currently, we're working on a pesticide bill for county parks. The Department of Education just made all schools pesticide free. So we're working with the Public Works and the Parks and Recreation departments to see if we can go and do an alternative to using pesticides on our county parks and roadways. So,
can you just declare an edict, or you have to get it to run through? You can't do like Trump does. This is now the rule. I'm changing it by executive order. Do you have any executive power as a council person?
No.
That you can do things without a group decision?
I'm just one vote of 9 on the council. So, but there's a lot of progressive issues that are coming through, and different constituents are calling their council members to support some of these initiatives. So we've got a good support from the people out in Maui County, Maui, Molokai, and Lanai. So we encourage people to come down and share their mana'o at the county chambers, because it really helps when more of the county members hear from the people, and even if it's multiple times, it really makes an impact on them. So
the letters get
The letters. Right. We get all the...
I always wonder, sometimes because I know guys like you, I think, well, they know how I feel. I don't...
Correct.
Should I send a letter?
Yeah, you should.
Or come down? I know sometimes because of my role in this media seat, I'm careful of being too publicly outspoken, not sure how things get interpreted in our public forums. So you'll see me. You'll watch that now. You'll see. Rarely will I come out, but I'm watching.
Yeah, correct. You're absolutely correct. And I've had that from some of my constituents. It's like, hey, I don't want to come down. And you're right. People are either working or they're busy at home with the kids. But some people will actually tell me, hey, I voted you in, so I don't need to come down there anymore and testify anymore. And that's true. But for some of these issues that might be more contentious, and we need to get more publicity out there into the communities, I think it's good in educating, the masses, so that people, keeping government transparent and keeping people aware of what the issues are and how they would affect their daily lives. So,
have you found people in your area there use remote testimony yet?
Yeah, we're still working on that. Yeah, we're trying to get more from the remote rural areas to come out and testify.
Because I know, especially like here we are on Facebook Live, there are ways that testimony can happen from a distance.
Yeah, that's something that the chair is working on. And, all through the budget session and the budget meetings in the different districts, the more people came out during those budgetary meetings, definitely impactful. When making budgetary decisions on us. So I want to thank everybody who showed up because it really helps.
Well, I can say I imagine, but I know that to be doing this as one person, you couldn't do it without a great staff that is supporting you and people around you. We were talking outside. You have to have a calendar and you're on a running schedule because you really are a more than full-time, part-time, whatever they call you, advocate of things. You're out there and running with a great team. What subjects, with such a busy schedule, I wonder sometimes, where do you focus your time? You have all kinds of support. How do you best function? Yeah.
It's every other week there's a different agenda for the different committee meetings, so there's something new on every week. And you're right when you spoke earlier about there's a lot of reading just to catch up. For my first month, and going through the vetting process of the mayor's department heads, we quickly had to, for me anyway, I quickly had to get on board and read up on a lot of past history and a lot of past issues that has come through the county, prior to my position on the council. So luckily, I've got some staff that knows a lot of the historical content of the council to quickly get me up to speed, and that has been really impactful as well. I think all through that process, it was somewhat stressful. We had, you kind of had sides and families involved and friends and people involved, because, we're all family here on Maui. So, somebody knows somebody or is related to somebody. So that was the hard part when we were vetting through some of this department heads, because we didn't want to hurt any of the families, but we did want to address some of past issues that may have been either negative, whatever you construe.
Well, what they say, to be a leader, you have to be brave, because you got to deal with things that sometimes people don't want to deal with.
Right.
That's stuff under the rug.
Right. And that was pretty intense for me. And, we did, of course, as new councilmen, you look at, we want to keep the sanctity and the safety of the county government. So there were times that we found out, or issues that, made the county either at risk, put the county at risk, or or there were policies that may have gone that could be misconstrued, so it was easily, or it took us to, it was very litigious, had to go through court to try and figure out some of these policies, whether it meant this, whether it meant that. So those are some of the real quick issues that we needed to constantly get on.
I'm gonna just give you another reference. So in my mind, as a civilian, here you are, great intentions, publicly involved, a lot you see you want to have happen. You now get on council, that old thing comes up. It's difficult to remember that your original intention was to drain the swamp when you're up to your ass in alligators. So there's so many issues you suddenly discover on council.
Correct.
All these difficult things. It's like a bit overwhelming. Have you found an area that you really are working on? I mean, I think of you as a champion. Have you picked any issues that you're working through? Like, I'm just curious, as a council person. We're working on bills. You got all kinds of committee stuff. So you're moving litigation stuff forward, hearing all kinds of things about dropping litigation. We got to make decisions, all kinds of big issues coming up that we hear lots of statements on. But here I am. I'm a guy talking about environment. When I think about environment, the first thing jumps in my mind is we need more housing. I imagine in Hana also it's like we need more housing, but we don't want it to look like the West Side, and we like to have it and make it work in our community, and we need housing in the middle. But that may not be the passion. Some people say, well, I'm now in there. Now I'm going to make sure that our environment is happening, or I'm going to make sure I strengthen. What has been your passion when you're in there? What's driving you these days?
Right. There's definitely a lot of priorities. And so I was just thinking, I gotta put it on a prioritize.
That
right.
one's biting on my leg.
Yeah. There's a bunch. But going back to your first point, I think coming in with fresh eyes, fresh ears, being the public school teacher for 20 years, it kind of was a blessing and a curse because, I got to be very observant and listening to all of these things, and then making those decisions, speaking with colleagues and doing my own research. So that has kind of helped me, I think, by just taking on not taking sides, but just really listening to the issues and then making some really cognizant decisions when voting. Housing is definitely an issue. I've got my family, I've got an architecture background and affordable housing specifically. So I'm I'm more of a minimalist when it comes to architecture, but that was one of the first issues that came through my committee. We did a conservation code. We adopted a conservation code, so designs can be more geared toward island designs, where you didn't have all these R-rated values for your homes. As far as environment,
R-rated values. He's not talking like the movies. That's in insulation.
Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Well, R-rated. That means in insulation.
Right. We don't need all those added for holidays in Hawaii. But definitely environment has been a big issue. Agriculture, we're currently working on a bill to increase the agricultural spending on the state side. So we're putting in a package with the other counties to the state legislature. So funding more agriculture to promote agriculture and food security, Maui County and across the state. So that's one of our issues that we're trying to promote, and we want to continue. Also, agriculture as a secondary economic engine, and not just rely on our tourist industry. We funded a lot of the UH agriculture programs, including the FAM, the apprentice programs, and we're looking forward to the HFUU convention sometimes later this year.
Farmers Union.
Correct. Sorry, throwing all these acronyms out.
The other one I was trying to figure. The FAM is probably Farm Aid something and Management. It's really good that these programs are ongoing with so many things and so many things at intensity level needs. Have you guys ever proposed? I mean, it's great to sit out here and not have to do it. I'm going to have to ask somebody else. What about an emergency condition to be able to condemn lands and eminent domain and create housing and take a builder and say, look, we'll give you tax incentives if you will work on affordable housing rather than new housing. We're going to have a restriction about the vacation stuff at some point, but because you're a good citizen, we're going to do this, and we're going to try to do it without having to pass a law. Let me say, is that for me to go to a developer and say, look, developer, you do this, let's get a tax credit from the government so you can make as much money, but you're doing what we need? Can that happen? Is that happening?
Well, we did it through the raising some of the taxes for hotels, short-term rentals, and condominiums, and it wasn't a large increase, but we felt that some of those some of us felt that taxing the hotel, short-term rentals, and condos is because, for one, the short-term rentals, because of short-term rentals, we've lost a huge affordable housing inventory to that industry, you know? And that's part of why we're in this housing crisis.
And people justify charging high rents because of the huge prices they pay because there's not enough housing inventory. We've watched this, you and I, from the public sector for 20 years. You've been watching as a teacher and knowing we need housing, and they keep pushing back. When Tasha talks about, well, we have 200 units here and 50 here.
Yeah.
I know that's big, but I keep thinking we need 5,000. Isn't that an emergency? And emergency can be declared, or it can be, that's why I'm asking it kind of this way. As a council person, can you go to a guy like Goodfellow and someone like A and B and say, or whoever it is, and say, you have land, here's where, or does it have to be the private sector to instigate them to do something?
Right. So no, we can't. And so, right, we're just a policymaker, so we can just make policy.
But now, what if we create this deal, and I were to come to you and say, look, these guys agreed that they'll do this, this, and this, but we need to offset their tax burden and give them a way to make this. Then I would come to you and propose. I mean, I'm trying to understand how to interact public with you without. A lot of people think that you guys in your seats can declare a change and it will happen, where it takes involvement in the private sector. That's why I'm asking it this way.
Right. And yeah, county government.
You're limited.
We're limited.
You can't go to those big guys and do stuff.
Correct. And it takes a while. And I think the only thing that we can influence is, the 201H process. The 201H process is for affordable housing, or at least to keep upwards of 50% of a private a project in affordability. And so the other problem was that the affordability clause was only 10 years. So we saw after 10 years, a lot of these affordable projects or homes flipped after 10 years and returned back into the market with market values, and then again it took us out of affordability again. So those same homes were now being sold for $700,000-$800,000.
Well, I know.
When originally $300,000-$400,000 they were sold for. So,
and even those numbers, when you say 300,000 and 400,000, when we look at jobs,
exactly.
Are you kidding me? I'm a teacher for 20 years here. I can't buy that.
Yeah, same here.
That's what I'm thinking. That's why the words emergency and all those are big words, and I know I'm using them. They may be very bold, but they're meant to be. What is the mechanism to get faster action on issues in the public that we want? And I'm guessing from what we're seeing here that the private sector has to come up with a deal, and then see what government can do, or the government might see what they could do to pass a law to encourage that private sector thing to happen more.
Correct.
So, am I right?
Yeah. Well, we've definitely gotten their attention because we haven't okayed some of the projects that have come through the county, and some of the reasons was again that affordability clause. We're looking at affordability at minimum of 30 years into perpetuity, so that it remains in that income level. Also addressing the very low income level. I think developers can still make their money if they're addressing the 100% AMI and above, 120% AMI and above. They can still,
That
pencil
has to
it
do
out.
with income.
Right, area median income. So I think they can still pencil out their projects. It's just when we're dealing with the really low 60% AMI and below, 30% AMI and below. And so we're slowly seeing some projects that come through the county that they're getting a lot of funding, whether it be from the HFFE, the Hawaii housing programs, the state housing programs, some federal
but
funding.
some of those, without those funds,
Correct.
It would be very difficult to create affordable housing. Is what
Correct.
we're basically
And
saying.
what we're seeing is that whatever the county is giving them for their projects, they're leveraging those funds to get more monies to pencil out.
Let's take a break. I'm here with Shane Sinenci, present council member from Hana, Maui, Hawaii. I'm Jason Schwartz. We're going to go to a break and let some sponsors talk for a few minutes and come back, and we'll get into some other specific issues. But this issue, thank you for taking the time to go into. I know it's a bit of an unusual direction that I went in, but I keep thinking that the public's got to solve this, and now I know it really is more important that the public generates activity and not ask the government to solve some of these problems that can't get solved without more public activity. With public and not with government, It's interesting. I'm yapping too much. The Neutral Zone with me, Jason Schwartz, would like to sincerely thank David Bryan for his support. David was founder and head of school at New Road School in Santa Monica, California, and is the board chair at the Ojai Foundation and on the board for Brave New Films. The Neutral Zone is heard live Mondays at 11 a.m. here on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui, and again on Saturdays at 7 a.m., as well as on TV and on MauiNeutralZone.com.
Aloha Maui, Archie Kalepa here, asking you to help protect our local coral reefs by switching your sunscreen. Avoid sunscreens with oxybenzone and octinoxate, two chemicals that can harm or kill corals. There are lots of safe for the reef choices. Get info at mauireefs.org/sunscreen. Brought to you with Aloha by Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, Maui's Visitors Bureau, County of Maui, Office of Economic Development, and me, Archie Kalepa.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad!
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Want to host your own radio talk show? You can. Once every month, KAKU 88.5 FM offers an introduction to radio class at Akaku Plaza at 333 Dairy Road in Kahului. This introduction to radio will get your feet wet and show you what you need to do to get started. Interested? Call us at 871-5554 for more information and registration.
Hi, I'm Jason Schwartz, host of The Neutral Zone. KAKU is a listener-supported station. This means that all of the great programs you hear, like mine, are sponsored by you as well as our underwriters. If you would like to help keep the voice of Maui talking loud and clear, Go to kakufm.org/donate today and give. And don't miss the Neutral Zone Mondays at 11 a.m. on 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. Aloha, this is Jason Schwartz at KAKU, the Neutral Zone, 88.5 FM, here with Shane Sinenci, our sitting councilman from Hana, Maui. Now, you should remember out there, all our audiences know that in Maui County, we vote at large voting, which means Shane Sinenci is your council person no matter where you live in Maui County. If you think this is the man who needs to hear what you've got to say, he's the guy you see because he's for everyone. There's a residency requirement because we want districts to be represented that have different kind of constituency. But we're all big constituency in one big melting pot called Maui County, right?
Correct.
I'm hopefully that I'm not just too way out. We had subjects that I wanted to bring back and say, okay, Shane, which subjects are really most important for you? I know I see all kinds of notes, and I'm very impressed. You came with things that you want to share, and I want to jump into that. So you take the lead.
Thanks, Jason. Well, I just wanted to speak to your first comment because you're right. I'm from a small rural town, and then I have to go campaign in all three islands. Four we call, well, not Kaho'olawe, but it's part of Four Island County. So you're absolutely correct. I definitely have to come into Kahului, Wailuku, and Lahaina to come and campaign because you're right. It's all 9 districts throughout the county. So that has been a challenge for me as well. Some of the other issues, we were. As the environmental committee chair, we talked about recycling, reuse, and that has been I think, a couple of the resos and bills that we're passing. We want to continue the plastics, different plastics, and some of the trash. We live on an island. And
yeah, people should get that one, I hope.
Right. So we're trying to push more of, the single-use.
Sporks, you're getting rid of all the single-use plastic as best you can.
I mean, we've definitely seen the additional trash and our idea, the county's idea about recycling is to ship it off to recycle our, China doesn't take it anymore. So we've got our aluminum, plastics, glass, and we just ship it off island or to California and they process it there. So
somewhere in the middle of the ocean it gets lost and goes
somewhere
to the
in the middle of the
island.
Ocean. You're right, the plastic island, and part of it is because some of these smaller island nations, they don't have any. They live on atolls. They don't have any place, any landfills or anything, so they just throw it in the ocean.
And it ends up on all their beaches on the windward side, wherever the water comes. It's like, look at our beach. Every particle has, I don't know what the numbers are, but even our beaches here have plastics in them. So these problems. So you've been doing things with environmental plastics.
Yeah. And I just brought it up because you're going to see more as we continue on our term. You're going to see some of this come up, and some of it, and I'm just bringing it up, Jason, because it's something. As us old dogs, we still do things
in our own way.
So it's gonna take a lot of education on our part, and people come up and educate people. There are a lot of people in the field that are moving already at looking at paper products and wood sporks, those types of things, and recycling. So some people are already on the bandwagon and getting us going.
Push them.
And we're trying to get community support and educate our community so that we can work towards more of a green and healthy environment.
We can't make new spoons and forks out of old spoons and forks, right?
Right, or just use your old metal ones, instead, or take
wood.
a
I seen the spork and I thought it was really a great thing, a biodegradable thing that you don't have this sudden. You're going to see it come up in a turtle.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. It's really, when you're out there in this water here, and you've been here like you have all your life, and me now 30 years, to see what's gone on is just a sad thing. That injection well you mentioned while we were sitting off, the thing is, something's going on there. What's happening with that? Are you guys ready to do something?
Oh, the line injection well, that is going to be coming up in committee meeting on next week, Tuesday, in the GET committee at 9:30 a.m. So the issues with the Lahaina injection wells, that it's later in the year, in November, I believe, it's going to go to the Supreme Court to be heard in the Supreme Court.
Have you guys can stop that, right?
The county can vote to settle before going to the Supreme Court. That's if we have a majority to vote to settle. And the mayor is continuing the last mayor's appeal of the Ninth and Fourth Circuit Court's decision. So I think what the problem is there's people think there's a lot of people jumping on this bandwagon, and we're seeing that it's a lot of polluters throughout the nation, whether it be gas, oil, fracking. These people kind of want to support Maui County because I think if the county is successful at the Supreme Court, it could mean, injecting and polluting more of our environment. So I think that's where...
So we as public are hoping that council people like you hear the message you just delivered to me. So I'm hoping that your cohorts, enough of them, can make a determination that will not let polluters feel like they can run rampant.
Right.
That is a very powerful issue, and you're in
right. Maui County could set the
something.
Precedence for doing that, and I think I don't want the county to be known for that, for setting a precedence for polluting our oceans, our reefs, and
we all want the same thing. And a lot
right.
of the monies that could go in different ways can be used here to solve some problems and get off this trail that it's been on.
Correct. And I think the plaintiffs, they just want to fix the problem. They want to stop polluting our ocean shorelines and our reefs, and just do something else with our the effluent. So we're hoping that if we can settle, that'll be great. If not, I don't know what the ramification is. Going to be huge.
Hopefully you can settle. I mean, you're one
Correct.
vote. How many more do we need, right? Isn't that where we're going?
Yeah. So.
And can they override the mayor if the mayor says, "Oh no, we want to fight this to the end"?
No, I think the county can.
Still can, right?
Right. Yeah. So.
I don't know what they call a supermajority.
Yeah, and if people out there need to be, educated some more, please show up or tune in on, I believe it's September 2nd or 3rd, that
Coming
Tuesday.
Up here real soon. We'll get time.
Yep.
Your website, I know that people are always asking me about how do you know about bills that are on. Is it pretty easy for the public to navigate to find out what's coming up so they can be there to testify?
Yeah, I think it's on the county website is legistar.com.
And it has up there
and it'll show
all the bills and what's coming up and everything.
Yeah, you click on the link, and then it'll just pop up all the different bills. You can see all the bills that are coming through.
And it also has meeting notes, and
meeting notes, testimony from the community.
Because I know that
we've got some great
interest.
and great testimony from the public. So I like reading the testimonies. People that are scientists, people that have been involved in the issues for years. Catching up with that and getting their perspective is great. So. Jump online if you've access, and get up to speed with some of these issues, because we're doing this for the kids. what we do now will affect, the next generations down the road.
I was telling you, when I go into a room and I'm looking around and I think, I'm the oldest one here. Everything I do is for them.
Yeah.
We're now getting to a point where, the future is these people that we're seeing out there.
Correct.
How can we not do what we need to do to leave them a better place than when we were here? Huh? Isn't that what we're supposed to do?
That's correct. We want to be good stewards, good kupuna, and right, give them a chance that they can, enjoy what we have right now. And I think this is the time to make the stand, right? You've seen it. People are making the stand now instead of going, we could, that fears, some people said, shucks, we're one council away from from really developing the island to the point where we could be like Oahu or even some of these Hong Kong and some of these other Asian countries where we could easily within a matter of years just develop at a incredible pace.
That used to be a field. Now it has 2 million people.
Right. So putting on the brakes, putting on at least setting the infrastructure, putting in policies that'll dictate where we go in the future.
And you guys have been pretty aggressive.
We've spent a lot of time fixing a lot of stuff, again, that are questionable or litigious. So we're hoping to make very clear policies, and so that there is no question, or this is what the community wants. We want to support the Maui Island Plan, the community plans, and we mahalo everybody that's been coming out and contributing to that process, because it's definitely an important process.
Whenever I think of that, I think about Lucy and Danae, who I've known since I'm a little child. She was with me a little.
Yeah.
But Lucy Ann always has been working on that for so long. The commitment that people put into going through the community plan and doing their part to bring this whole thing to be a great plan, and then to see it not followed.
That's correct.
Is sacrilege. So,
right.
So glad to hear that you're listening to what the community is bringing to you.
And that's a good point. I mean, we definitely need to enforce our own rules and regulations, right? That's been such a challenge all these years. Is
to make it better
if we're
better.
putting policies that we can't even enforce our own policies, well, definitely need some changes there. Yeah.
I took you off your list. What other things are important that you want to be sharing?
As far as the environment, we're looking at invasive species. The county in the last meeting concerning Maui invasive species, they definitely want to fund more protection of our environment from invasive species. We put out a bill for more spending for agriculture. That could technically be more funds being spent at our airports and our ports of entry, so that we can kind of address some of the problems that the Big Island has definitely seen in the last couple of years. So, just more biosecurity, and not, just allowing, it's crazy because when you leave the island, you have to throw all your bags through the agricultural checkpoint, right? And that's California's law. So we're paying for California's law to check whatever is entering into California.
But no one does it coming the other way.
Does anybody know? Nothing
substantial.
Nothing substantial that comes into Hawaii. I mean, you have to sign a little waiver on the airplanes. But that's it. So we've definitely. I mean, we live in one of the most isolated places in the world.
Yeah.
And
we have the most remote land masses in the world.
Correct. With some, the most.
It's got its blessings and its curses, doesn't it?
And I'm surprised that we haven't, made more of an effort for our own biosecurity.
Well, here we are.
Yeah, so that's one of our issues.
With your issue of agriculture as a second economic engine besides tourism, and there's so many areas that, can be helped by strong agricultural base. And everything you're talking about, I mean, I hope I'm not, turning it into, sound like a whitewashed economic I sound like a white guy. The Hawaiians have done this forever. You know, and I remember when I came to you, because I think it was your uncle, had some kind of housing design.
Yeah.
A natural housing design that I thought, you know, this could be taught. This before you were on council, I think. Where I really recognized, you know, and I guess, and maybe I'm just bringing it in, because when you're talking about environment and you think about culture, what culture comes up to me is the Hawaiian culture and all the, first of all, cultural preservation, but also the practices that were very successful, that had, how many, 1 million people here on the island before? Some incredible number that makes us look foolish that we can't handle a couple 100,000.
Right, and I think basically it was just the Ahupua'a system from Mauka to Makai, and just following the basic premise that the water cycle and how water flows from Mauka through the, you know, the Vauakua, and, you know, filters through all the mosses, ferns, and ancient forests down into the aquifers, and then down out into our estuaries that create, you know, the fisheries down along the shorelines.
And you don't build, you know, new schools or condo complexes along where the water is coming rushing down. You take and can you divert that and use it for agriculture? I'm always wondering, why are we not doing logical, natural things? Is there that kind of stuff being talked about? Not really, maybe not.
Right, and we're looking at it. That brings me up to my other issue. We are starting the Climate Change and Resiliency Department or Division. We're going to be talking about that in my meeting next Tuesday in the Environmental, Agriculture, and Cultural Preservation Committee. So we're hoping to create, it'll be a charter amendment to create a Climate and Resiliency Department or county division, so that we can look at, you know, whether it be retreating from the shoreline or just, you know, just kind of addressing sea level rise and climate change.
And, for example, addressing and recommending changes in law so you can
policies. Yeah, policies, correct. Because, again, we're on an island, and, you know, the environment, we're constantly at...
Imagine you're going to build a hotel for $300 million, and you're going to do it in Kihei, and so where do you choose to put your new thing? There at the Maui Lu, where you have a moat at your front door. There's no more Kihei Road. Part of the deal is they're raising Kihei Road. I don't really understand how that stuff keeps moving forward. Anything? What happens with that? Don't they say, hey, you guys, have you looked at what's going to be happening here in the next 20, 30 years? Or you're going to build anyway? You're going to...
Right, and we're hoping that this charter will begin that conversation and start to, you know, definitely affect all the different departments of the county government, so that, you know, it's just another thing that we need to be addressing. And like you said, there was... Stop building on the shorelines.
I don't understand it even right now. As I go by in South Maui, I drive by that spot, and I every time wonder, why are they not addressing this now? Is it nothing you can address because it's already been passed and it's going on? That's what's happening?
No, I think we're still addressing those. For some of the hotels that are coming through, we get to vet some of these projects. Okay. So, yeah, we'll definitely let the community know when they come through. But it seems like that project kind of slipped under the radar, right?
Well, you know, they bought that property a long time ago.
Oh, that's why. Oh, so they're using...
I guess there's a lot of...
If there were permits,
things that are different now.
Yeah, those are some of the things that people are asking about the county government. You know, they received their permits years ago, but they didn't build immediately. So now some developers are using those, whether it be older permits that are still kind of lingering out there, whether it be old EIS and environmental impact studies that are out there. Sometimes they're using older ones that was from
that are really obsolete based on new
Obsolete now.
information.
That's correct. Yeah.
But
So
they're already in motion and continuing in motion.
right. Those are some of the issues that we need to address.
What other things on your parade? Because I can pick things out of the air and talk, but I know that with all your time there, you really must have an impression of where you feel you can be most effective. I know you've been very effective, as you're sharing about, in the environmental area, in building new protections and creating new directions for us not to be using stuff in parks that's a pesticide, and like you say, more changes of rules and making things better. Cultural. What can we do about
right,
all that?
cultural.
That's a really big one.
Right. So cultural preservation, we did introduce into the budget a new position, county archaeologists. So the big problem, especially with Maui Lani and all the, the burials that were disturbed during that and all these past years, was because the state historic preservation division, either they're too busy or they don't have any. They're not properly staffed. So in the past, if the SHIP D, the Historic Preservation Division, didn't come and do an assessment, a lot of the projects just went ahead without any cultural monitoring. So the intent of the county archaeologist is to kind of do some of the preliminary work before SHIP D. We still need SHIP D to come and sign off on some of these projects, but if we did have a county archaeologist, then we could, technically do some of the preliminary work and
avoid some of these things.
And avoid some of these things, because if it didn't go after 30 days, the project just kind of went ahead without any monitoring of the sites. So
I see.
So that was an addition that we put in, and we're also looking at some kind of a cultural overlay, where we just in the county would just say, hey, certain places on the island are just kapu, these, they're known for significant burials, iwi kupuna. So we're looking at maybe in a near future,
to a Mauna Kea kind of activity. You're looking ahead.
Because we all know that certain areas are sacred, right? And so we kind of want to just leave certain areas around the county for cultural preservation. So definitely, some stronger policies for cultural preservation and burial protections.
Now, this may sound like a funny question. What do you like best about what you're doing, and what do you hope? When I see 3 or 4 minutes left, I'm thinking I want to be able to give you a chance to really talk about what it feels important to you that you really want to share with people. You have an open door here to be on with me any and all the time. If there's anything you'd like to share with the public. But what things right now feel like you'd like to tell people? You've been out doing this a while.
Yeah, as far as priorities, the keiki has always been, as a school teacher for 20 years, the keiki has always been my main priority. And me as a keiki growing up in East Maui, those were just one of the best times, just growing up near the ocean, going to the ocean and just living in that environment. And I think wanting to keep that for future generations. We're seeing a lot of visitor impacts on our environment, especially out in East Maui. We're trying to keep the industry and our lifestyle. Keep the lifestyle where the industry doesn't take over that lifestyle. I mean, we see throughout the world where there's just tourist destinations. Something about, say, Vegas. Vegas got 2 million residents, but there's just workers there. There's 40, 50 million. What number that visits come through, right? So the entire spot is just a tourist destination. We don't want that.
And what used to be the reason for going to Vegas is now different. Everything's changed. And here, like you say, God knows a beautiful, quiet beach and a quiet lifestyle can be invaded by 45 tour buses coming through and showing you this spot. There's where Lindbergh lived. Here's where this. People at Hokeepa were telling me that.
Yeah.
I heard Rob Parsons on the radio, the environmental guy, talking about 40 buses go by in what used to be a quiet spot. Really changing the quality of our lives. We're going to have to definitely take a closer look at how to stop some of that.
Right, yeah. The federal government started it by limiting people on Haleakala Mountain because the experience, you just didn't get a good experience up there if you had hundreds of people that you couldn't park and you were constantly, you were stuck in gridlock up on the mountain. So, they've definitely saw the impacts. So we have visitor impacts as one of the resolutions that we're trying to pass, and we're trying to urge the mayor and the administration to develop a more sustainable tourism board where
you're in luck. We're running out of time, and so you're going to have to come back to our show as a contestant.
I know. It was
an hour goes really quickly.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me here. I hope
you,
you
Mr.
will
Schwartz.
Come back anytime.
Definitely.
Jason will do.
Thank you.
We are so happy that you all joined us here on the Neutral Zone. This is Shane Sinenci, our council person from Hana. Remember him no matter where you live on the island. If you like him next election, you can vote for him no matter where you live on Maui County. And we are leaving you. Thank you for joining us at the Neutral Zone. Aloha, everyone.